It's the 7th anniversary special of the Vortex. Live from Hororhound Weekend in Indianapolis. An intimate evening in the Vortex. Tonight's special guest, Sluggo, Crimson Executioner, Freezer Mortis, Cerberus, Wolfie, Pumpkin Man, Flashback Jack, The Movie Man, and other special guests.
Welcome to Talkback with Crim and Grim. I'm your host, the Crimson Executioner, and this gentleman over here is my sidekick and my co-host and my second banana, the Grim Reaper. And we're showing traditional B-movies, hosted B-movies, but we're doing it with a little twist. We're putting it into a, may I have that please? This is my first banana. He's my second banana. We're doing it in a talk show format, just like the late night talk shows that we all know and love. The movie that we're going to be showing tonight is called The Naked Witch. It's a 1961 horror film written and directed by the self-described cinema schlockmeister Larry Buchanan. But before we get into the movie portion of the show, let's do a little bit of chit-chat with our first guest, and that is
me. That's it. Yeah.
you. What's your name? Whatever his name is.
They call me Wolfie. I've been around for a while. Not as old as you, Crim, but
Well, who is?
well, that's true too. But yeah, I've been coming here for a little while. You know, it's been fun. You know, so yeah.
Are you enjoying yourself with this?
Oh man, oh, you bet.
Yeah.
I sure am.
Well, I've got a question for you.
Okay.
This is a question I'll ask some of the other guests as well. Are you familiar with a movie from 1970 called "What Do You Say to a Naked Lady"? It's you know who Alan Funt is.
I do know.
Candid Camera.
I do know Alan Funt. Didn't he start like way back in the late 50s?
Yeah, and he did the candid camera stuff, you know, the hidden camera and all that stuff.
Yep.
In 1970, he made a movie called What Do You Say to a Naked Lady?
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Well, that movie gave me an idea for a question, because the movie that we're going to be watching tonight is The Naked Witch. So the question I have is, what would you say to a naked witch?
What a lovely day it is. What do you say to a naked witch?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. You know, I'm not quite sure. You know, I would kind of, personally, I would be probably a bit tongue-tied at a naked witch. Well, let me ask you this: have you ever seen a naked witch?
Well, how would you know?
Well, aren't they something about their? What is it about? Come on, somebody give me some help here. A witch, you can tell a witch by a naked witch. There's something about her naked body that reveals her witchitude.
Her hat.
Her hat. Okay, I thought maybe she had a third breast or something like that.
I don't know. That's why I've never seen.
You've never seen one,
I've
so
never
you
seen
don't know.
one.
Have you ever seen the movie?
I've never seen this either. This is like, I'm stumped. I can't believe you guys are showing a movie I've never seen. So this is going to be different. I don't know what to expect. I really don't. I've never seen this one. It's kind of neat. I don't know how I missed it. I've seen all the rest of them.
Well, so you're familiar with with Larry Buchanan then?
Oh,
The work of-
yeah. I've seen enough of his
Larry
movies. I just
okay.
missed this one for some reason.
This particular movie is actually the second movie that Larry Buchanan made, and he made it on a budget of $8,000.
Wow.
And
That's pretty good. Cheap.
let me give you a little bit of warning that it's not a good movie in anyone's accepted definition of the word good.
Yeah, it's very, yeah.
But it is actually the highest. If you go to IMDb, it's actually the highest rated movie of all of Larry's horror movies. And he made quite a few.
So this is like the top of the bottom.
This is the top of the bottom.
Yeah.
It's a 3.2 rating, and if that's actually better than Battlefield Earth. You ever heard of that stinker?
I've seen that one, yeah.
Yeah, it is better. It's better, more highly rated than Jaws: The Revenge. You ever see that stinker?
I haven't seen that stinker.
And it's even better rated than EGA.
Uh-oh.
EGA.
Gonna have to check this one out.
Well, that's what we're in for.
I'm excited.
Well, have a banana.
That's okay.
Witches! From just beyond the edge of light, from the deeper darkness where no living being has ever walked, comes the terror of those who have given their souls to the devil. This is the story of one such creature. This is the story of a witch. Across the pages of history lurk the ominous shadows of the werewolves, the sorcerers, the witches. Through the ages, man has known the evil that walks in the shadows of the night, and has feared the dark spirits of the unknown. What lies behind these monstrous fears that has chilled the hearts of man since the beginning of time? Do these sinister creatures live only in the superstitious minds of ignorant people? Those who have studied the history of the ages, and who know the dark secrets locked in the vaults of time, to them, the word witches brings a trembling fear and a shuddering terror. Great minds have sought to explain these things, and in the great museums of the world hang the work of the master artists of another age, giving mute testimony to the horrors of sorcery and witchcraft as they saw it in their day. To tell you this hideous tale, and to better help you understand these murderous creatures, let's go back 500 years, for that will bring us back to the time known as the Dark Ages, when the witches held much of Europe in their black grip of fear. And let us study some of the paintings by the great master artists who lived in the age of witchcraft. And through their eyes and the genius of their art, let us try to understand these strange creatures and the evil forces behind them. In the old books, we read that a witch is one who has given his soul to the devil. To do this, they must renounce God and all other things that are decent and good. It is said that they make a pact with Satan written in their own blood. In return for this evil deed, the devil gave them supernatural powers of magic and evil. They could make their bodies disappear or change into any kind of beast or animal at will. They were given the power to cast their ominous shadows across the lives of others. They could cast evil spells upon their victims, causing them to go blind or lose the use of their limbs, or even lose their minds. They could turn their victims' lives into nightmares of hell. For the devil is their master, and they must go forth upon the earth serving only the powers of evil. The witches would meet in the night at a prearranged rendezvous usually in old secret dungeons or in the black depth of a forest. These meetings were called Sabbats and were always held during the night, for the devil's greatest power was believed to be from sundown to cockcrow. And many of the finest paintings by the great artists of that period tell the story more eloquently than words of the strange and evil things that took place at the Sabbat. The witches would appear for this sinister ritual in the form of all kinds of hideous creatures, such as beasts or birds, or half beast and half human. They would begin by celebrating what was known as the Black Mass, which was always conducted by some ex-leader of the church who had renounced God to serve the devil. The Black Mass will live in infamy forever. For here, some of the most terrible criminal acts took place, such as the slaying of children, whose warm blood was offered up as a sacrifice to Satan. Then their bodies were thrown to the dogs, or roasted and eaten by the witches. Following this ritual, the entire gathering would throw themselves into the most depraved orgies of filth and obscenity conceivable to the human mind. But to these evil, perverted creatures, it was all terribly exciting, and it provided an excuse for their unbridled lust and perverted sex. The fact that it had to be carried out in utmost secrecy made it all the more thrilling. Yet those same evil, murderous creatures, who changed their bodies into all sorts of hideous beasts and engaged in those unbelievable rituals by night, lived by day as ordinary human beings, such as shopkeepers, housewives, or farmers. And as the years went on, the witches continued their murderous assault upon the people. And it is said that they called forth all the legions of the dead to battle for the souls of the living. For this is the goal of the devil. From the beginning of the 13th century through the 18th century, witchcraft ran rampant through Europe and was practiced with all of its blasphemous and obscene rituals. So, the Middle Ages became the Dark Ages, the age of witchcraft, the age of fear. But men and women who still had the courage to fight did so with all the weapons they knew. And after 5 centuries, the tide of battle turned. In many European countries, the practice of witchcraft was made a capital offense. Rulers decreed that their countries must be freed of this terrible scourge, and that all convicted of practicing witchcraft must die. Armies were called out to hunt down the witches. The fear was so great that entire villages said to be infested by witches were put to the torch. The old records tell of flames rising high into the night sky and hideous creatures streaking across the burning heavens, screaming foul obscenities. When confronted with death, many of the treacherous witches confessed to the most hideous crimes. Even the hardened soldiers who were trained to kill turned away sickened by some of their terrifying confessions. One group of witches alone confessed to the murdering of over 2,000 babies and small children, bought from the brothels and slums of the big cities. At last, the witches were no more. Old superstitions and taboos had yielded to the powers of light and knowledge. We, who live in the light of the 20th century, see the witch only in fantasy, as a hideous old woman sailing through the night sky on her broomstick. We are certain that these murderous creatures who walked the world in the Dark Ages, committing their atrocious crimes and casting their evil spells, never really existed, except in the twilight zone of the mind. But are we mistaken? From deep beyond the edge of light, from somewhere out there beyond the grave, beyond the dimensions of life, do these ominous creatures still exist? Let us see.
All Alright, the convention's just about to start. This is our table. This is our table. Pretty cool. We've got it pretty full this year. Let's get a close up here. This year we are featuring pictures of some of our hosts. Nice little collage. And we got a little bit of a roach problem.
That's why I'm like not even safe from like closer.
As usual, we do have candy we're giving away. We've got a DVD player going featuring some of our shows. Got a smaller collage. Freezer Mortis t-shirts. Got new flyers to give away. And we have the Vortex t-shirts and the Sluggo t-shirt. Very limited quantities on these now. $20 a piece. And something new, we are having a raffle to give away this one-of-a-kind Monster of the Month mask. The mask is actually of Lore Lady as the Vampire Witch. The retail value is about $40. So we're going to raffle that off to raise money to pay for our table. We don't ever keep any money for ourselves. We always just use money from the shirts to pay for, and this raffle to pay for our table. Another new addition to our table this year, a wonderful big picture of me. Oh, and someone gave me something that I'm going to replace my ruler with. All I can have to say is, Morty, you better behave.
Okay, how you doing, folks?
Pretty good. Really good.
Introduce yourselves.
I'm Ash. I'm Izzy. I'm Caroline.
And what brings you here to Horrorhound Weekend?
To have a good time, honestly. Same thing.
Good responses, anything?
Here to bring smiles to people's faces.
Okay, last question. As children, or as a younger part of your life, what movie scared you as a younger person?
Definitely it.
Okay. Guys,
Pet Cemetery. Ooh, that one too. Yeah. Friday the 13th.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, great. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Okay, hi, what's your name?
My name's Sarah Butterer.
And did you make your costume yourself?
No, I ordered pieces of it and pieced it together.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Are you anyone in particular?
I am not. This is the very first day that I'm debuting this costume, so it doesn't have a name. I don't have anything about the costume yet.
How much of the hair is your hair?
None of the hair is my
None of the hair is your hair. Okay. Well, when you were a kid, what movie scared you the most?
I have to say Chucky and Freddy Krueger.
You're the
Nightmare on
second
Elm
person
Street.
to say Chucky today.
Yeah, my brother tortured me when I was a little girl and chased me around the house with the doll and, and the claws.
That's just not fun at all.
No.
Why did you decide to come to Horrorhound?
My husband's actually a special effects makeup artist, so he knows a lot of the mask makers here.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
So how long you been here, babe? Come here often? I'm not getting anything.
She's as stiff as your acting.
Boy, when you die, you really die at this place. Okay, next question.
What's your favorite movie?
Oh, what is your? I said that one. It was one of.
We didn't hear you.
Oh, what was your favorite? It must be one of those silent jobs. Are we done?
We're done.
We're done.
We're done.
Hi.
Hello.
Are you together, a family?
Somewhat. We kind of took her in.
Okay.
Husband and wife and a friend.
You're Chucky.
Yes.
Okay. Are you Bride of Chucky?
I am.
Awesome. That was a
My
good
bride.
movie. And who are you, sir?
The Looneyville Slugger.
Looneyville Slugger.
Kids from the Looneyville Asylum.
Show us your bat there. It's like, oh, that's kind of gross. Nice. Why do you guys come to Horrorhound? What do you like about it?
I love everything horror. This is no better place to be.
I agree. And how old are you, Bride?
I'm actually 18 years old.
Okay.
Enough to get married.
Is that like a real tattoo?
This one isn't.
That one's not? Okay, but you got one somewhere. Okay, okay. All right, well, when you guys were younger, what movie scared you the most besides Chucky?
Unfortunately, I'm still looking for the horror movie that actually scared me. I've watched everything I can. I haven't come across it.
Nothing scares you?
For me, it was
Not
Candyman.
yet.
No, I haven't seen that one.
I saw that one when I was like 7. I wouldn't look in a mirror for weeks.
How about you, Bride?
Anything that, so like, I didn't like the Saw movies because creepy crawlies just freak me out.
Yeah, I agree. I can't watch those either. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to us. You guys look great.
Thank you very much.
And what is your name? And what brings you to Horror Hound Weekend? Okay, when you were a young robot, or what's the appropriate term?
Droid.
Okay, shame on me. When you were a young droid, what movie scared you the most? Thank you so very much.
Hi. What's your name?
Celeste,
Celeste. And who exactly are you dressed as?
this is my own creation.
Wow. Are you like a zombie bride or?
Yeah, we'll say that.
It's awesome. Kind of show everybody. She has a veil. What'd you make it out of?
This is all spray paint and a little bit of nail polish, some regular paint. I got this dress at a vintage store, and I do all my own special effects makeup too.
You did your own makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Can you close up on her face? That's amazing.
Thank you.
Are you going to be in the costume contest? No.
I attend these every year. I work every convention. So, yeah, I have fun doing it.
You should try to be in the contest. That's too bad. Okay. Well, when you were a kid, what movie scared you the most? Do you think had an effect? It?
Yeah,
Are you going to see the new one?
I am.
Awesome. I haven't seen it yet, but I can't wait. So why do you come to Horrorhound?
Everybody here is basically like family. Love everybody that attends the show. Love everybody that works the show. It's an awesome convention to come to. Always a great time.
Great. Well, thank you for talking to us.
You're very welcome.
This is the very witching time of night, when churchyards yawn and hell itself gives up contagion to this world.
If I could have known of the strange and haunting experience that was waiting for me, I never would have driven any further into the hill country of central Texas. There are those who say that it was all a dream and that it didn't happen at all, nor could it happen in the 20th century. But I tell you, it happened. Perhaps you will be able to believe it if I tell you about where it happened and the people who lived there. To begin with, it was early spring, and there are few places in the whole world as lovely as Central Texas in April. But this is not the Texas of cowboy lore, for here, snug in a green valley rimmed by evergreen hills, are trim, clannish, thoroughly German villages. The German settlers came in 1846 seeking religious asylum in America. The green hills, the rocky slopes, and clear rushing streams reminded them of the hills beside the Rhine. From limestone outcroppings in the encircling hills, they built their thick-walled homes, most of them still standing, mellowed to amber by the sun, still occupied by descendants of the settlers. And they have kept the faith that made their grandfathers brave sickness, isolation, and Indian raids, so that it be kept alive. A characteristic of the valley is the great number of bells, church bells, the Abendglocken with evening bells. And there are the school bells which have rung for 100 years, calling the children to schoolhouses that were built by their great-grandfathers. Though English and German are spoken interchangeably, German is taught in the schools and is still the language of social contact and of the home. And they sing in German. Yes, this was spring, the time of Sangerfest, the singing festival. I was trying to get to the village of Lukenbach, where a singing festival was in progress. You can joke all you want to about how far a sports car can go on a gallon of gas, but when they're out, they'll sit there like any other car. I was already late, so I decided to leave the car and walk into the village. This was the last day of the singing festival, and the last day I could take away from college. I was writing a thesis on the early Germans in Texas, and the festivals were important to my research. As I walked through the countryside toward the village, I thought to myself how lucky these people were to live in such peace and unspoiled beauty. And yet, as I approached the old burr mill on the outskirts of the village, an ominous feeling crept over me. It seemed as if the dark shade trees above the mill race were about to swallow me up and take me back 100 years, as indeed they soon would.
Hello there.
Wie geht's?
I'm looking for a place to stay for the night. I wonder if you could help me.
Schön ich sehen. Mein Bruder Hans. Good beer. Wiener Schnitzel.
Sounds good enough for me.
Kurska.
Her name was Kirska. It was a pity that such a lovely creature would be the one to tell me that I was too late for the festival. She was dressed in a costume of the old country and had taken some village children to the festival. She said that her grandfather would be glad to have me at the inn. As we turned to go, I couldn't help thinking that the old miller could help me in my search, so I turned to him. He seemed pleasant enough as I asked him if he could help me. But when I mentioned the words superstitions and witchcraft, he simply turned and continued with his grinding.
Welcome back to Talk Back with Crim and Grim. I'm your host, the Crimson Executioner, and this is my co-host, sidekick, and second banana, the Grim Reaper. And we have another guest with us today, and that is Flashback Jack. Welcome to Talk Back, Flashback.
Well, thank you.
And you've been hanging around the Horror Host convention, the Horrorhound convention.
Oh yeah, the Horrorhound?
The Horrorhound.
Oh.
And I know, Jack, I know you're a collector of autographs.
Yeah.
And photographs.
Right, right.
And you have shared your collection with some of your collection, your vast collection, with us in the chat room and so on and so forth. Did you get any good autographs or photographs today, or this?
Charles Cipher from Halloween and a number of other movies. He was Sheriff Brackett. And the embarrassing part is I can't remember her name for squat, but the lady who was cursed in the movie Drag Me to Hell, that actress. It was the.
And how about the one that you had to wait a couple of days to, or was that somebody? Maybe that was another one of our chatters.
I don't remember waiting a few days for one.
Okay, that must have been Movie Man. I was hoping that Movie Man would show up here for the show tonight, but he apparently sent the Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
Instead.
Oh, by the way, you're not here for a pickup, are you?
Oh, that's a good question. Given the age of some of the people in this room, the Grim Reaper, may well be.
That could be. You look up old the dictionary, you see my picture.
Christine Brown. Christine Brown
Christine
was the girl he's talking about.
Oh,
okay.
Okay, Christine. Well, let me ask you the same question that I talked to Wolfie about. We've seen a little bit of the movie, The Naked Witch. It's kind of an interesting movie insofar as it's set in a small town in central Texas called Luckenbach, Texas. And you may have noticed that there's a lot of German-like people hanging around in this Texas town instead of rednecks like you would expect. And that's because Luckenbach was in fact settled during the 19th century by German immigrants. But getting back to the witch, who is terrorizing this town, apparently century or decades earlier, generations earlier, this witch was executed by the townspeople, and now she, is up and around again, and exacting revenge on the descendants of the people who she holds responsible for her death. So, let's say you're, a resident of Luckenbach there, and all of a sudden you're confronted by this naked witch. What do you say to a naked witch?
Well, and how are you, ma'am? I hope you're having a nice day. Anything to keep me from being turned into a newt.
So you're going to try to BS your way out of this, in other words.
Just like I do with everything else in life.
So Well, have you ever seen a naked witch?
No, I don't.
Not
that I know of.
Not that you know of. Have you ever seen the movie The Naked Witch before?
I might have seen a part of it here and there, but I don't think I watched the whole thing.
But are you familiar with Larry Buchanan, the director?
Oh yeah,
and
the man's a genius. The man should have won an Oscar at some time in his career. That's how great he is as a filmmaker and an auteur.
Well, we'll be talking a little bit more about Larry's life story. Are you aware of the fact that Larry has sometimes been called the Ed Wood of made-for-TV movies?
No, I didn't.
Well, that is a nickname. He may have given it to himself. I'm not sure, but he has acquired one way or the other that nickname, and he got the nickname for a series of 8 made-for-TV movies that he wrote, directed, and produced for American International Pictures during the mid and late 1960s. And these pictures, for the most part, are remakes of much better motion pictures, horror movies that were made during the 1950s. As the story goes, American International gave Larry some very simple instructions. They told him that we want cheap color pictures, we want half-assed names in them, we want them 80 minutes long, and we want them now. And perhaps you're familiar with one or two of these made-for-TV movies.
The Day the World Ended?
The Day the World Ended, I believe that is one of them. And there is actually another one that we showed just recently in the Vortex. It's a Vortex favorite, Zontar, the Thing from Venus.
Is that a remake of It Conquered the World?
Absolutely. It's a remake of...
Then they did whatever the title was, the remake of the Street Creature.
We saw that recently in the Vortex as well, Creature of Destruction. And that is all part of the work of Larry Buchanan.
Like I said, the man is a genius.
The man is a genius. He actually made a lot of movies that weren't horror movies as well, but what we remember him for today are mainly these horror movies, and specifically this package that he made for American International. Any final words before we get back to our movie?
Something you asked Wolfie made me think a little bit about how do you recognize one is naked.
Yeah, witch.
I think if shouldn't you weigh them? See if they're the same as a duck. Isn't that part of how you find out?
You weigh them, and if they weigh more than a duck, they're a witch.
I think that's how it goes.
I think there is something involving ducks and witches, but we'll maybe
it's not an exact science. It has been lost over the centuries, I'm sure.
Yes. It's it's a lot of that witchery kind of knowledge has kind of has been lost. But we'll maybe Freezer at some point, one of his Wikipedia moments, we'll get into that.
Right.
Well, thank you for being with us.
Well, it was my pleasure.
And we will now present the next segment of The Naked Witch, written and directed by the one and only Larry Buchanan.
I dismissed the old miller from my mind as overly sensitive, and we started walking through the village toward the inn. I tried to ask Kirska questions about the village, but she was interested in what she called the outside. What it was like at college. What kind of clothes were being worn by girls her age. Suddenly I realized that I was out of place in this village, with its century-old homes and clean-swept walks. But as we approached the inn, her mood changed. It was as if she wanted to help me, but couldn't find words to explain how.
You must be careful. The old ones do not like to speak of the spirits and their hex.
And your grandfather?
Grandpapa will be glad to have you in our house. He will talk of anything you wish, and much of what you don't.
That evening, after a good German dinner by the fire, Hans Schunig, the innkeeper, puffed on his pipe and tried to find words to answer my questions.
Ja, mein Bruder, the Miller. The villagers, they are afraid to talk of those days when the spirits were about our belly. Especially the Lukenbach witch.
The Lukenbach witch?
I think I talk too much.
Surely after all these years it would be nothing if you told me.
I will help you when I can, but we must not talk of the witch.
But I promise you, I'm not going to say anything to anyone. I'm just interested
Good
in
not.
I had just about given up hope of any help from anybody.
Come in.
This water is fresh from the well.
Thank you. Oh, do you have to go? I mean, well, I'm not having too much luck with the others, and I thought someone younger might be able to help. Someone like you.
More help?
With my thesis. I'm doing research for a thesis.
They want to help you. If they could be sure it was the German immigration you were writing about.
But, okay, so it's not just about the immigration story. So it's also about customs and legends and strange oddities that we're hereabouts.
And witchcraft?
Listen, I didn't say anything
You
about
can be honest with me.
All right, so I'm interested in witchcraft and sorcery in the old colony. What's the harm in that?
The old folks do not take these things lightly.
I didn't mean to upset your folks the way I did. But what can be the harm in a guy researching something that happened over 100 years ago?
You would have to live here to know us, to understand these things. You're what we call friender. You're from the outside. They don't trust you.
Are they trying to hide something?
Don't you? Why are you so interested?
It's just an academic hobby with me. I know there's a lot of talk about witches and warlocks and stuff like that, and a lot of people actually believe it. But I've done a lot of research on witchcraft, and I actually believe it can be boiled down to a simple mathematical and economic formula.
How do you mean?
Look, in any history book, in any age where there was widespread famine, sickness, want, you find an outbreak of women being denounced as witches. In the late Middle Ages, thousands of people were executed in Europe and England. In Massachusetts, 20 witches were put to death. All of these were times of widespread disease and hunger. But when your people first settled in this country, they had not only disease and hunger to contend with, they had the Comanche Indian raids as well. Little wonder, then, that the ugly word witchcraft was heard in the new colony.
But what pleasure can you get from studying about all this?
To better understand the witch hunts we have today.
Witch hunts?
You would think that after the delusions of New England and early Texas, the urge to hunt witches would have disappeared from the Western world, but nothing of the kind. The medieval idea of witchcraft was replaced with things like race and nationality.
What can I do to help?
Your grandfather mentioned the Lukenbach witch, but caught himself when I tried to find out more about her. Now, I've heard of this case before. Can you tell me something about her?
There was a woman called the Lukenbach witch. My grandfather and granduncle will not talk of it because it was their grandfather Schoenig who denounced her.
The settler that built this inn?
Yes. In this very room. In that very bed.
Don't leave now.
I have an old book, very old, which will tell you all about it. But you must not tell the others about the book.
You have my word.
I'll just be a minute.
Kirska.
Yes.
You have the sweetest smile.
Is that what the college boys are telling all the country girls this year?
No, I really mean it.
I believe you.
It's just that I don't ever really notice anyone until they get a little bothered and light up like a candle. You know, with your German good looks set off with something simple and black, you'd look like a little cameo.
I'd better hurry.
As I finished my packing, I actually felt that my luck was changing for the better. Just how much better, I couldn't describe. You'd have to see her.
You said something simple and black.
I did? Oh, yeah, I did.
Shouldn't you close the door?
Yes, of course. I'm not sure I've got you figured.
Because I asked you to close the door?
Well, yeah, that and
You wouldn't want Grandfather to know we were alone?
No, I wouldn't.
Oh, you didn't think I wanted to be alone with you?
No. Well, to tell the truth, I'm not sure what I thought at the moment.
I'll tell you. You didn't think little country girls ever thought of being alone and things and life.
But,
Well, who knows more about life and things and being alone than farm people?
Well,
It's just that farm people don't talk about it too much. Too much talk ruins it.
Okay.
I'd better give you your book now and go. 'Cause after giving you your book, I have no reason to stay. Except on one condition. And that wouldn't be fair to you. Good night, friender.
Hi, what's your name?
My name's Stink Gum from Mad Max.
From Mad Max, all right. So did you make this yourself, or?
I bought the two masks at a Halloween store and sewed them together. Put the nice hair on.
Awesome. And then how about this stuff hanging on it?
These are my old sport clothes out of my truck and my old bicycle chain wrapped with a leather lace, normal long john shirt that I spray painted, a normal pair of jeans, my boots, my knee pads, and then I got my collection of hair.
That is awesome. That's awesome. So what brings you to Horrorhound? What do you like here?
I love meeting all the celebrities that we get to meet, and the mask world is just a great world to be in.
All the women in my life. All right. Oh, what movie scared you the most when you were a little kid?
Chucky.
Chucky?
Always creepy. I thought my dolls were going to come to life on me.
Yeah, dolls are the thing now, aren't they? All right, well, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.
Scary guy, he just about made me wet my pants.
Does it?
You do that, Roy? Does that come from your mouth?
What did he do to scare you?
I was standing on a corner in that room, and he was standing completely still. I thought it was a dummy. You know,
Wait,
one of those sticks?
Just kidding.
Well, I mean, you know.
American.
You have to consider the source.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm not kidding. I thought he was a dummy. And I turned around to say something to him, and he grabbed me on the shoulder, and I just about peed my pants.
Wolfie, why'd you do that? Did you know better?
He's like that.
He wanders around a lot. Well, I can't keep him on the leash anymore.
I was going to say, he needs a long chain.
A long chain.
After talking to him for a while, have you changed your thoughts about him being a dummy?
No, he's a pretty good Wolfie.
Yeah, we like him pretty well.
Oh, just need his Wolfie. Yeah, he's a pretty good guy.
What are you doing here at Horrorhound?
Well, right now I'm sitting, but...
Well, what brought you to Horrorhound?
I like to smooze with the stars.
Oh, okay. Which one in particular?
About elbows. Well, I don't know. I haven't been down the room where they're at, but
I haven't either.
I spoke to Mr. Savini a while ago, and they always seem to put this movie on, Death Till Dawn. This is a few days before I'm here, so we spoke a few words, and I think he's a real person. not just a snooty.
No,
superstar.
he doesn't seem to be.
Yeah. He's a nice guy.
So,
I think this is my 7th time coming.
7th time. So you're a big horror film fan.
Well, to a point.
When you were a kid, what scared you the most? What movie?
Probably Psycho. Because
that's a good one.
the day Psycho came out, I went to the Circle Theater downtown in Indy with an aunt, and my brother was having his appendix out, and I was too young to be in there.
Oh,
and that has my stuff. They have a menu for guests. Classic.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for talking to us.
Well, you're welcome.
Hi.
How are you?
Who are you, sir?
I am Confucius.
You are. And what are you drinking?
This would be lemonade and fireball.
All right. Feeling good right now?
I drank till 9 o'clock this morning, slept for about 2 hours, and started again.
Oh my goodness. Why are you at Horrorhound?
These are my booths.
Oh, you have a booth. All right.
My wife makes all the jewelry. It's only appropriate. I make all the coffins.
Awesome.
One of them is slightly used. It has been used for 3 days.
3 days, right. So, when you were a younger Jesus, what movie scared you the most?
I would have to go with Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay, Freddy
It scared the
Krueger.
shit out of me as a child.
I believe it. Yeah.
The house I lived in had an attic. The door to the attic was in my bedroom.
Oh.
Had a skeleton key. I slept with it under my pillow.
Yeah, it's kind of freaky.
Mean parents.
Yeah. Mary and Joseph, I tell you.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you for stopping by.
Have a good time.
So how'd you get those legs that never quit?
I eat my vegetables. Parents love to hear that answer from little kids. Either that or I'm half Inspector Gadget.
What brings you here to Horrorhound Weekend?
Say what?
What brings you here to Horrorhound Weekend?
So I can clown around, of course. Duh!
And okay, when you were a kid, a little bitty, were you ever little?
No.
Joseph, were you born with those legs?
I was always this tall, of course.
When you were younger, what movie scared you the most?
That's a good question. Can I go sit in half a TV? You lose, please play again.
Well, thank you for answering our questions and not answering our questions.
Yep. You see what I did there?
Okay, you take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Have fun.
Well, I'll be damned.
The early Germans in Texas. To understand and properly know how witchcraft and suspicion raised its ugly head in the early colony, remember that in the first year of the settlement, typhoid, sleeping sickness, and other bitter hardships were climaxed by an epidemic that took the lives of 200 of the 600 settlers. The villagers looked for someone on whom to blame the troubles. What better subject than the widow who walked by moonlight? The widow who was too aloof to speak to the women of the village. The widow who caused the whispers about a clandestine affair with the innkeeper Scheunig. The widow witch, they called her. Witch? It must be remembered that this was a time when a man of power could conveniently denounce as a witch any woman discovered with him in his bed. Such a man was Otto Scheunig.
Yeah.
Well, Otto?
Well, widow?
What excuse is it this time, Otto? What excuse?
I have asked you to give me more time, woman.
I have given you time enough. You must decide between us.
I cannot break charity with my woman while she is infirm.
The villagers are talking. I hear them mouthing when I pass their doors.
What are they saying, widow?
They're saying that I have taken the bed of an invalid wife. They're blaming me for their miseries. The curdling of milk and the spoiling of butter. They say it is the curse of the widow witch. My washerwoman tells me that on Sunday last the preacher read from the Old Testament. "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." You must take me away from all this.
I cannot break charity with my woman while she is infirmed.
You have broken charity with me? What am I? A chattel to be used when convenient? To function where your wife cannot? To lie with, but not to marry?
Quiet, woman. Keep your tongue.
I'll not be silent. For I fear this talk of witches was born with you. Is it you who have woven this web of spectral evidence about me? Is it you who have called me a witch? Oh, your face belies you ought to. Would you have me burned?
Yes. Yes. Witches are for burning.
No! No!
Stop your shouting, woman.
Let her hear me. Let all hear me. You belie me.
They are here now. The elders are here to learn how you cast your demoniac spell over this house.
No! No, you lie!
I have told them how you cast your spell over my wife to make her invalid. She is in league with the devil. The widow is a witch.
That same night, under cover of darkness, they took the widow to the graveyard. There are those who said that she waited proudly without fear, and that she whispered over and over, Tot au alle Schönigs, death to all Schönigs. I will return, and with the self-same spire, I will kill all who bear the name of Schönig. How convenient for Otto Schönig that there could be no trial. Death would be by post oak spire. They buried her not 100 yards from where she had lain with the cruel and deceptive Otto Schönig.
convention again. It is Saturday. People are starting to come in. I don't think it's maybe about noon, and it's going to get a lot more crowded than this. Looking pretty good.
And it's all horror hosted by all these different people actually. We have horror hosts from Starways, Australia, England, and all over the U.S. And it's a good time. And at 9, every night we show a new feature, and there's a chat box next to the films. And we all get in there and hang out in the chat room and rip on the movies and each other. It's like watching movies with your friends. I bet you don't have to play fan talk.
There you go.
That's a real plus.
That's a real plus. Is this your kids?
What's your name?
That's us.
Okay, I got it.
She's one of our horror hosts, actually.
What's your name?
I'm Olivia.
Olivia. And
Yes.
who are you? Kind of look like the devil's wife, maybe. Or
I am Olivia. This is how I dress.
It's wonderful.
Thank
wonderful.
you.
What brought you to HorrorHound?
I love horror.
You love horror.
I love horror.
What movie scared you the most when you were a kid?
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Did you happen to see Freddy Krueger just walk by?
Yes. He looked so awesome.
Is that,
oh my goodness.
is that what made you cry blood?
Yes, of course.
Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.
Hi! Who are you?
I'm Joe Woody Oken, otherwise known as Woody.
Okay.
Or Joe Oken. Or, yeah, what?
What brings you to HorrorHound?
I've been here since 2009. They keep me in the basement for whenever they have the convention.
Okay. Well, I have one question. When you were a kid, what movie scared you the most?
What movie scared me the most?
Yeah, when you were a little sapling.
Sleepless in Seattle.
Why?
Terrifying.
Terrifying.
Shit like that don't happen.
Well, that might be kind of true.
I love you.
I'm going to agree with that.
All right, well, we just want to say, please watch the Vortex.
Okay. Yeah, I think I might have seen a show or two on there.
You might have been on there.
I might have been on there a couple of times.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. All right. Wow.
Is this a video?
You have anything to say?
Oh, it's a video.
It's a
So I
video.
don't have to act like a mannequin, like one of those store-bought mannequins. Ho, ho, ho.
Candy. Ooh. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
I have something to say. Welcome to prime time, bitch.
Lurkin? Is that your ex-girlfriend?
It's one of them.
What's her name?
Betty, I think. She could use a few, cheeseburgers.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'm kind of scared. She don't have any pupils.
Better to see you with.
Yeah, I guess she's not a teacher. Alright, this is just one of the tables here at the convention. Somebody's got their eyeball popping out over there. That's pretty gruesome. I'm scared. We're gonna have to move on.
Okay.
Hi. Who are you supposed to be?
I'm Negan.
Negan? Show us your badge.
We're all Negan.
We are all Negan, that's right. So I was just wondering, what movie scared you the most as a kid?
Phantasm.
Phantasm. Oh, that's a pretty popular one.
Absolutely.
And how did you put your costume together? Did you already have this stuff at home?
No, piece by piece. A lot of screenshots from the series. Looking here to see what I can match the closest, that kind of thing.
Awesome. Well, you look great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi.
Who are you people?
I'm Izzy.
Izzy?
Yeah.
Okay, who are you, young lady?
Me?
Yeah. Okay, and you look like a shark.
Where's the shark?
I like it. What brought you to Horrorhound?
Lost boys. Scary things. I want to make people smile.
You're not a bad clown, are you? Are you a bad type of
There is
clown?
no such thing as bad clowns. That's a lie. The world has ripped the smiles away from everyone. We take them back. Nice.
Okay. Help, Lurkin. Okay. Well, what movie scared you the most when you were a kid? All of you.
Chucky.
I bet yours was Jaws, right? No? Chucky? Chucky's the big answer tonight. It? You're gonna see the new one?
It's definitely on there. Yeah, sooner or later.
Yeah, you gotta see the new one.
The claymation Rudolph. This is not satire.
That is the
I do like your shoes, Izzy.
Thanks.
All right.
Feet are actually that big.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, thank you for talking to us. I love the clothes. Just please don't hurt me. Thank you. Hey, it's Lurkin. Hey, Lurkin.
You really should try some of that stuff. It's freaking delicious.
What are you eating?
Just a snack.
Mayonnaise. Mayonnaise? Oh, that's disgusting.
Delicious.
Lurkin, you are not really eating mayonnaise.
On there.
What? That? Oh my God.
Absolutely. You like a dollop of mayonnaise? It's delicious.
Are you eating?
Oh, come on.
That's like lard.
It's a little Chucky.
There's a little Chucky. Say hi. Hi, little Chucky.
And you like?
Whoa! Oh my. You're talking to a guy that's eating mayonnaise.
Who's the crazier one here? No trust.
I trust you. I'll take your word for it. Grossiato, didn't it? Yeah.
If you would have said it was Miracle Whip, though. I don't like Miracle Whip.
Grosser?
Yeah.
This is dollar store stuff, so what's whatever.
Because I like mayonnaise, but I don't like Miracle Whip.
You gotta try it right out of the jar.
I don't know. I eat mayonnaise just off the wall.
You got a spoon there that hasn't been used. You can left throat.
You got what?
I have a spoon that hasn't been used in my pocket. If somebody wants it.
Seriously, you're trying to push your mayonnaise off on unsuspecting individuals?
It's good.
Do you really have mayonnaise in there? Let me see.
Look. Does it look like mayonnaise to you?
Well, yeah.
You gotta try it. Don't knock it until you've tried it.
It's too bad we don't have smell-o-vision.
Well, does the live Facebook have smell-o-vision?
No.
What the heck?
Sorry.
Kind of low-fi, low-tech arrangement you got going.
It's free. That's why.
Still filming?
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, I don't know. I'm done. Okay, say bye.
Bye. Bye.
mummified face of the widow, with eye sockets staring. And among the crumbling bones, the stake, now petrified stone. What a prize. If I could but take the stake, and the temptation was too much.
and one by water.
Welcome back to Talk Back with Crim and Grim. I'm the Crimson Executioner, your host. This is my co-host, the Grim Reaper, and we have a special guest before we get to the final segment of tonight's movie, The Naked Witch. And our special guest is Cerberus, who all of you know, or most of you know, is our Monday chat moderator and just general all-around denizen of the Vortex. Welcome to Talkback.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Executioner.
Well, how have you enjoyed the convention?
I've had a really great time. It's been a lot of fun. I was a little disappointed when I arrived, though. I was unaware. You see, there was a little mix-up. I didn't realize it was a horror convention.
What did you think it was?
Well, I didn't realize that second horror was in there.
Oh, you felt like the bordello of horror type of...
Well, something along those lines.
Situation.
I thought that's what was going on, so I did come a bit unprepared,
Well, I hope you managed to adjust and
yes,
get into the swing of things.
The swing of things.
Have you collected any autographs or photographs?
I've taken a lot of pictures, but I didn't get any autographs from anybody. I bought some movies and some new T-shirts and so forth. Had a good time.
Okay, so you spent a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Bought a little bit of merch.
Yeah, the vendors area got me for about $100 in the first hour, I think. So, yeah.
Well, later on, before the convention ends, if you want my autograph and photograph.
Well, thank you very much.
Make some sort of.
I really appreciate that.
My rates are competitive with
okay.
the others, many of the other vendors. Yes.
Yes.
So what do you think so far about the Naked Witch? Let me just ask you the same question that I've asked the others. What would you say? Let's say you're a denizen of this, this Texas town, or maybe you're just wherever, and you run into this lady who happens to be a witch and happens to be naked. What do you say to a naked witch?
Well, in this situation, am I naked or am I dressed?
Well, it's your question. You can answer it any way you want.
Well,
it's your fantasy.
I would probably, introduce myself and, ask her what her intentions are of being naked. Maybe buy her a drink. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's kind of get a feel for the.
It might
maybe cop a feel for the.
Well,
or get a feel.
Only with her consent.
Well, of course. Of course. And particularly with the witch, I mean,
Well, yeah.
I mean, you don't want to mess around with anybody like that, but with the witch, they've got like special powers.
Yeah, my nose might fall off 3 days later,
or you could become that newt or whatever.
Yes,
and
turned into a newt.
Yeah, yeah. We've got enough newts already.
Yeah, that Gingrich guy. I don't know.
But anyway. So you would, kind of assess the situation, and I think you would kind of play it by ear, right?
Yes.
And perhaps would it matter how good-looking the witch was, or would that be irrelevant?
I'm an open-minded guy.
Yeah, that's good. That's well, I am too.
That's a polite way of saying I have no standards.
Okay. Well, that's all very well and good and interesting. So let me ask you this though: have you ever actually seen a naked witch? I mean, we're talking about one abstractly, but have you ever actually seen one?
Yes. Possibly,
okay.
Can I plead the fifth on that one?
You can plead the fifth.
Thanks.
You can certainly plead the fifth. And have you ever seen the movie The Naked Witch?
Actually, no, I haven't.
This is you're
this is my first time.
You're a virgin then, as far as the Naked Witch is concerned.
I suppose so. Now, is this the same Lukenbach, Texas, of the famous country song?
Yes, that actually is.
Let's go to Luke and Baptiste.
It actually is. That's the
Waylon
same.
Willie
Yeah.
and the boys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so, baby.
Yeah, that's the same. That's the same Texas. Which brings us, of course, back to Larry Buchanan, because Larry Buchanan is from Texas.
Right.
And he was born in a little town called Mexia, I think. It's pronounced Mexia, but is consistently mispronounced by everyone who tries to pronounce it. And it even has some sort of a motto that, you know, we're a lovely town, even if you can't pronounce our name or something like that. That's the town motto. But that's where Larry came from. And it's about 200 miles from, I guess it is pronounced Lukenbach, and I wasn't sure how that was pronounced, but I guess if I'd listened to the song, it would have all kind of come together. But anything you'd like to say before we bring along our next guest?
No, not at all. I don't have much to say other than just say hello to everybody that's out there in Vortex land, and we're having a ball here at Horrorhound Weekend. And honestly, we only just wish that you guys were all here too. Even the ones that can't make it and aren't with us anymore, you're all surely missed.
And hopefully we'll see some of you in March.
Yes. And you, I don't want to see you.
And now we're going to bring along another guest, whom
you know I love you.
Yes.
Serb's lover, whom we all know as.
I'm going to edit out that Serb's lover part, aren't we?
Sure.
Okay. Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Not anymore.
Who you all know from the Wednesday night chat modding and being a Vortex regular, a horror host on occasion, and that of course is again our friend Lurkin. Welcome to our show.
Thank you, sir.
Talk Back with Krim and Grim.
Grim.
And I'll ask you kind of the same questions that I've been asking everybody else. So you've had plenty of time to think of, clever and snappy
I
answers.
haven't actually been paying attention to anything that's been going on. So.
Yeah, well, I don't blame you. Nobody else has either. But even I, have lost track of what's
Is that why you're going to ask me the questions off that sheet of paper on it?
Well, actually, this sheet of paper is my cheat sheet.
Okay.
We'll get back to that later on.
Fire away.
I've got a few things about Larry Buchanan that we want to talk about. I want to make sure I get the
Schlockmeister.
The Schlockmeister. Okay. And in fact, he published an autobiography, and he called himself the cinematic Schlockmeister or something like that. That's the title he gave to himself.
Good name to give himself.
Yeah. But
can anybody spell it?
What, Schlockmeister? Let me. Since we're on the subject of Larry Buchanan, we'll get back to the questions in a minute. True or false? Larry Buchanan is his real birth name.
Probably false.
With somebody in that business, you're always better off guessing false. I would say. And in fact, his name he was born Marcus Larry Seal Jr. That was his actual birth name in the year 1923. And Larry had kind of a rough life at the beginning. He lost his parents at an early age, and he was raised in a Baptist orphanage.
Oh boy.
U.S. Baptist country down there in central Texas.
Yeah, I played the radio down there once.
Watch out for snakes!
And after he graduated from high school, Larry was actually offered a scholarship by Baylor University, which is a very prestigious Baptist university down there, a scholarship to study for the ministry. But he decided that he would turn it down, and what he did instead is he accepted a rival offer from 20th Century Fox Studio to be an apprentice in their prop department. So it was a tough choice, minister or apprentice in the prop department.
It's a bit of a fall from grace either way.
And Larry, he went for the props, and they signed him eventually to an acting contract, and that's when he acquired the name Larry Buchanan. Okay. So Marcus became Larry, and he kept that name for the remainder of his career.
That's an interesting story because I kind of just figured when his wife was seeing what he was doing, she made him change his name.
Well, that's an interesting. That's. I always thought he was just kind of the illegitimate son of President Buchanan, but apparently that wasn't true either. You know, a little bit of research.
History's your thing, man.
History is my thing. Well, let me just see if there's anything else about Larry we want to bring up before the final. Oh yeah, just one other thing, and then we'll get to the questions.
Sure.
You know, the movies that Larry made. You know, they have wound up on various worst movie lists.
Absolutely.
He didn't make a good one in the bunch. I mean, his whole oeuvre, his whole body of work, was pretty much crap.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is that every one of his movies at least broke even, and most of them actually made money.
Wow.
And I'll tell you what Larry's secret was, and it goes back to the fact that The Naked Witch was made on a budget of $8,000. If you have a budget of $8,000, all you got to do is rake in $8,000 to break even, and everything after that. That was Larry's secret.
So you put naked in a title, you're pretty much going to rake in at least $8,000.
Hey, you know, these movies were playing in grindhouses and drive-ins, and and you know how, you know, down there, I mean, they, you know, in central Texas and that part of the country, they just ate that stuff up. They loved it.
Yeah.
So let's say you were, you know, down there in central Texas and just happened, you know, in your travels to confront a naked witch. What would you say to a naked witch?
You know, if I was going to borrow a line from the movie you talked about earlier on, the candid camera, what do you say to a naked lady? I thought the best line in that movie was, "I like your outfit." But having worked so much with, you know, being the minion of Freezer Mortis, I'm so used to people talking, you know, shaking hands with him and walking away and saying, "That dude is colder than a witch's," you know, whatever. So I would, if she was naked, I mean, I would have to ask her, how can I tell if you're cold or not? Did that make the least little bit of sense at all?
That was clear as mud. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
That's what I was shooting for.
Well, so let me ask you this then. You know, have you, as a follow-up, have you actually seen a naked witch?
Not in person. I've seen enough of the Coven type, you know, movies. They're supposed to dance naked, right? That's the deal.
That's part of the deal.
Yeah, so I've seen a few of those.
And have you seen this movie before?
I have seen this movie before. Ask me where I've seen this movie before.
Yes. Where have you seen this movie?
I've seen this movie before in the Vortex. One of the hosts ran this film, and shame on me. Was it?
It was the Ghosts on the Big.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Brown.
Yeah, just go ahead and say it.
Okay, Ghosts on the Big Brown Couch.
Yes. And it was very funny. They did a good job with what little material there is to work here.
Well, and how's you know, the Horror Hound weekend been for you?
I'm having a good time. Having a great time. Freezer was here for a little while, and he gets tired too easy these days, so he's taking a nap right now. Plus, I think the guy ate like a whole freaking jar of mayonnaise. I think it was maybe not in the refrigerator long enough or something, so he might be what they call indisposed for a little bit of time. So he couldn't make it, he sent me.
Well, we're glad that you could be here. And any final words for you know, our viewers?
No, just have a good time, like always. We've had fun here. A little. We're going live via taped, right? As a result of circumstances outside our control.
Filmed before a live studio audience.
Yeah.
Right. Just like Freezer Mortis.
That's it. Just take care, folks. Have fun.
Well, thank you for being with us. And without further ado, we go to our final segment of The Naked Witch.
The next morning, the elders came to the inn. They had fished the body of the miller out of the blood-soaked mill pond. There was no question of what had happened, for they had also discovered the empty grave of the witch. I tried to speak up, but words wouldn't form in my mouth. This was all a dream, I wanted to tell them. This thing didn't happen. But as the elder continued to talk, the sudden realization came to me that it was true. I had uncovered a grave of a witch, and now, after 100 years, she had returned to avenge herself. The elder warned that no one should leave or enter the village until the witch be found and return to her grave. Surely the witch would not stop at one death. Where would she strike next? The only two villagers with the name of Schoenig were the innkeeper Hans and Kirska. As the moon rose, we did all we could do, bolt the shutters and wait.
And won by fire.
I was the guilty party. Just as surely as if I had held the stake, I had killed them. I could no longer contain my guilt. And yet, some kind of power kept me from speaking up. It was as if I was hexed by the witch herself. I made up my mind to find the witch and stop the killing. The librarian must have wondered at my strange questions. Under the guise of research, I asked her if there was some place people could hide in the hills by day, maybe some place where they went to during the Indian raids. Yes, she could help me. There were some caves downstream from the mill. I had my information. And so that night, as the moon bathed the hills with light, I crossed the mill race and headed toward the caves downstream. As I watched, fascinated by this beautiful creature, I couldn't believe that here was a vengeful witch who had murdered 2 and was sworn to kill a 3rd. For a moment I felt sorry for her. This lonely nymph whose friends were water snakes in the moon. And she seemed to know every sound of the night. As her eyes met mine, all thoughts of capture or punishment of the witch drained from my mind. I was helpless. Her power and beauty engulfed me, and I found myself completely obeying her will. I followed quietly as she picked up the gown she had torn from Kirska's back.
one by water, one by fire. But all shall die by the self-same spire.
Later, in the cold gray light, I spread the dirt over the widow. My feelings were mixed. Here was a woman who had taken 2 lives. Yet she had been denounced maliciously and killed by the same stake. Was she witch or wronged widow? It is not for me to say. I am only glad that her tempest is over and she has returned to her 100-year sleep.
Welcome back to Talk Back with Crim and Grim. I'm your host, the Crimson Executioner. This is my sidekick, the Grim Reaper. We hope you enjoyed The Naked Witch. And we have a special guest to kind of wrap up. And our special final guest for the evening is the one and only Sluggo Gonzalez, president of the Vortex. Welcome, Sluggo, and how are you doing?
What happened to beloved leader?
Oh no, dear. Oh yeah, dear leader. Oh, beloved and dear leader.
Yeah.
Well, let me just smack myself with the ruler here. Oh, by the way, we have another special guest. This is for fans of the Walking Dead. You know, ooh, that's sharp. You know, this is Lucille, and Sluggo decided that although the ruler seems to be sufficient to keep most of the chatters in line, that there may be times a little more firepower is needed. So we now, in addition to the ruler, have Lucille. So Lucille, welcome as well.
Tell him the truth. That's for Morty.
Well, okay, I guess the secret is out then. That is for Morty. That's a special gift that Sluggo is, I think, going to give to Morty's head.
It's not a gift, but yes, directly to his head.
Directly to his head.
His big fat head.
That's right.
His big fat mouth.
Well, we're not here tonight to talk about Morty. Obviously, we're here to. What are we here for?
Losing her dress.
Oh.
Okay.
What are we? We're here to talk about the hororhound convention. How are things going for you? Have you met any interesting people, Sluggo?
Well, I've met Grim.
Well, yes.
He's pretty interesting. He don't say much though.
Well, you know, I met Grim for the first time at this convention just the other day, as a matter of fact. And as soon as I saw Grim, I knew that Grim would be the ideal co-host for this new show.
Because he lets you do all the talking?
Because he lets me do all the talking, exactly. He just kind of sits there and is menacing. And,
yeah, he's menacing.
You know, as fearsome as I am, you know, it's always nice to have a little bit of backup. And Grim's my backup there. So, you know, if anything, you know, happens or whatever, I've got, you know, Grim has my back. So...
I don't think you want him to have your back.
Well, now that you mention it, you have a point there. I think with Grim, you notice I'm kind of looking straight at Grim right now. You know, I haven't turned my back to Grim, so we'll see how that works out. But you know, our relationship is just beginning, so we'll see how all that develops. Okay, so you met Grim. Any other excitement at the convention?
Terry was here.
Oh,
Terry
Mount, right?
Terry-rific.
Oh, Terry-rific.
Terry-rific, yes.
And was she selling handbags or just kind of...
No, she was just socializing
just social,
today.
Yeah. And,
yeah. It was pretty cool.
Any you know, celebrities, you know, like Arch or anybody
no,
like that?
No, Arch couldn't make it this time.
How about Woofy?
Woofy's here, but I would... Not sure I'd call him a celebrity.
Well, I guess you must have met Woofy since he was on the show earlier.
Well, yeah.
So...
Woofy!
Yeah.
Sound off!
Okay, well, he's still here. He's still here. Okay. Okay. Well, let's get to these questions that I've been, you know, asking some of the others. What, Sluggo, you know, let's get the woman's point of view. On this, well, I've been talking to men.
If you can call them men.
Yeah, sure. Well, and, you know, loosely speaking. So let's get the woman's point of view. What would you say to a naked witch?
I would say, look, woman, put some clothes on. It's 34 degrees out here. Crazy psycho. Well, I'd have to beat myself out, but and you get that picture.
So it's interesting. None of the men, made that particular observation.
Imagine that.
But that would make a certain amount of sense. I guess it would depend too. If it was 30 some degrees out, it wouldn't make sense to really not be wearing clothes. Well,
I wear clothes and I'm a slug.
That's right. That's a good point.
Witch should wear clothes too.
Well,
that's just ridiculous.
Well, unless they're at maybe taking a shower or whatever. But if they're out socializing with people, that makes a certain amount of sense. Let me ask you this: Have you ever actually met a naked witch?
No.
Or a witch of any sort, really?
I wanted to meet Penny Dreadful, but I haven't yet.
Oh, okay. Well, Penny is the one which I think we all would like to meet. So hopefully, she'll come to one of these cons, and we can make it happen. Have you ever seen this movie, the Naked Witch that we just watched?
I had to watch it to prepare it for the show tonight.
Oh, that's right. You're the one who gets all these movies in order.
So I know that you know by now because you've already seen it, but she's not naked the whole time.
Well, yeah, and it makes me wonder. These rednecks down in Texas, who paid good money to see a naked witch. They were promised a naked witch.
Well, they got a naked witch, just not the whole movie.
And
but nobody wants to talk about that.
And it wasn't really, I think anybody that went to see that movie to see the witch get naked would have been disappointed.
It's not like she's stripped or anything. Come on. It's a family show.
Right. This is, is more
kind
about
of
witchery than about nakedness.
Witchery? Is that a word?
Witchery,
you're trying to teach us that word now?
Witchery is a word, yes.
What was that word you used a while ago? You tried to sneak a vocabulary word in on us during the last segment.
Oh, yeah.
Oeuvre.
Oeuvre. What the heck does that mean?
Oeuvre, that's like a body of work, somebody's work. Oeuvre, I think, is French for work, or I don't know.
I don't think so.
I
think it means open in French.
I don't think of that as a fancy word. I use that word all the time. I talk about oeuvre.
Audience, is that a fancy word?
Yes.
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 Definitely.
Okay.
See, well, yeah.
I have never even heard of that word. You're using it in like everyday language?
I think I ate some oeuvre d'oeuvres or something once.
Right, that's what
little
comes to
toothpicks.
mind when you say oeuvre. The oeuvre d'oeuvres that you those little on the trays and whatever you get at parties and whatever.
Hors d'oeuvres or something.
Hors d'oeuvres?
Yeah.
Hors d'oeuvres.
Hors d'oeuvres.
Hors d'oeuvres.
But anyway, where were we?
I have no idea. Grim, where were we?
Train wreck.
Train wreck.
Well, Sluggo, do you have any final words before I give my final
interview's
word?
done already?
Well, you can continue.
Well, you're supposed to ask the questions, not me.
Well,
it's your dang show.
I asked you all the questions I asked everybody else.
No, you didn't.
I didn't.
No.
Well, none of that. It gave me a hard time here.
Let's put that down.
Anyway, no. If you like,
she's enjoying the con.
Yeah,
what?
ask me that.
Enjoying the con?
Am I enjoying? Ask me. Go ahead.
Okay, so how are you enjoying the con?
It's been pretty good so far.
Well, is there anything else that you'd like to say?
Listen, Krim, I come on the show expecting special treatment as your boss, as your president, as your beloved leader. And all I get is the same crap you've been asking everybody else. I didn't even get a drink. There's not a bottle of water for me or nothing. What kind of cut-rate show is this? And this guy over here, well, he's another thing altogether. I mean, good grief, he keeps staring at me and breathing on me and everything else.
Well, Sluggo, if you're going to carry on like this, I'm out of here.
Sit down, Krim.
Dang.
Nice try.
Well, I guess that almost wraps up our show.
Do you have anything left to say about this crappy movie?
I do have one final thing to say about Larry Buchanan. And that is that his oeuvre, his body of work, I think was best summed up in an obituary that appeared in the New York Times after Mr. Buchanan passed away in December of 2004. And I want to make sure that I get every single word. This is a brief obituary, at least the part I'm going to read. So I want to make sure that I get every word right. If you'll pardon me, I'll just read it from this piece of paper here.
I hope everyone drank some coffee first.
According to the obituary, one quality united Mr. Buchanan's diverse output.
What are you looking at me for? Look
It
at
was
the camera.
not so much that his films were bad, they were deeply, dazzlingly, unrepentantly bad. His work called to mind a famous line from H.L. Mencken, who, describing President Warren G. Harding's prose, said, "It is so bad that a sort of grandeur creeps into it." So rest in peace, Marcus Larry Seal Jr., a.k.a. Larry Buchanan. You may have departed from this earth, but your movies will live on forever in the vortex. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
What? Thank you for watching. Good night.
Good night.
Did you say something at the end?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Gracie.
Night, Grim.
Good night.
Okay.